At the time of the recording of this video, I'm 37 years old. If I could go back in time and talk with my 29-year-old self before she decided to stay on for 7 more years with her narcissistic and abusive husband, I would share with her the following 3 lessons, and they all have to do with the body. I am Emma. I'm a medical doctor, a survivor of domestic violence and of narcissistic abuse. And today I want to share those 3 lessons with you. Lesson number 1. It will be your body who ends the relationship. I had the most enormous willpower. I started university at 17 years old, pharmacology program. And I finished that program, which was a 5-year-long program, at the same time that I started my medical studies. Not only that, at the same time I did research. I wanted to do a PhD. I had a friend at that time, and just like me, she was very high productive. We were both A students. We changed our research groups to be in the same group together in order to support each other. And I remember her telling me during a late time of study that sometimes I wish I would just be sent to jail. It doesn't have to be a long sentence, it could just be 1 or 2 months, because then I would be forced to rest. And that was my approach to my body. My body was something to be overcome by willpower. This approach served me very well. By the time of 27, I had 2 master degrees. I met my narcissistic partner when I was only 15 years old, and he was with me during all this time. He was proud to tell everyone that his girlfriend was a med student. As I was juggling all the studies, I also took care of our apartment, I cooked lovely meals, and I made myself pretty for him. I even had time to take a nap now and then when he was at work. Sometimes my energy levels would drop, but they would return with the night's sleep. Now, I took the same approach after we had kids. With the first child, it went quite well. I was able to manage. But when our second kid was born, my energy started to dwindle. And instead of stepping up and helping me, my husband withdrew and started to abuse me. He told me I was lazy and that I wasn't keeping things together, that he wasn't happy, that I had become fat, and being the type of person that I was, I agreed with him. I felt ashamed that I wasn't able to keep everything together, and I tried harder. In 2017, I seriously contemplated leaving my husband, even though we had 2 small kids. He withdrew, talked to other women, and I suspected that he was unfaithful. He also started to travel by himself and disappear. I tried to reason with him, I tried to argue with him, I tried to make demands and set boundaries. This led to a series of very violent and frightening episodes. One of them almost killed me. He started to physically abuse me. I was ready to give up, but I had never given up. I had never come across a problem that I couldn't solve. So instead of giving up, I doubled down. I realized that something was wrong in our relationship, and I realized that he had a personality disorder of the cluster B, quite far off the spectrum. I became obsessed with solving this problem. I read everything I could. I tried different methods to handle the situation. I tried different methods to talk with him, and I learned how to de escalate a fight. At the same time, I forced myself to be the best parent I could. It was even more imperative now that my husband wasn't able to be one. It seemed like I had unlimited energies. I was still young. In the night, I would sometimes sit and correct graduate papers to make an extra income. I thought that if I put in extra effort, then the strain on our marriage and our situation will decrease and things will improve. I thought that if I try harder, things will get better. As time went on, something happened. My body started to give in. Evening came and I put my kids to bed. I felt myself falling asleep even though I tried to get up to have some couple time alone with my husband. I tried to force myself to work on the relationship, but I couldn't get up. My body was too tired and I fell asleep. with a feeling of shame. I had become one of those women who blames their headache and goes to sleep in the evening and avoids their husbands, even though I didn't want to be. I would tell myself that this evening I have to get up, make myself pretty, and try to engage with him. How will our relationship improve if I don't put in the effort? But then, as I put my head on the pillow and nursed my little daughter so that she would go to sleep, I felt my eyelids getting heavier. I couldn't fight it. I also began to experience losing control during the day. I would get mood swings and become irritated and extremely tired, almost like when you have a drop in the blood sugar. If the kids would fuss at the same time and my husband would become irritated, I would as well not be able to deal with the situation. I would say something to him like, if you only help me out a bit more, it would escalate into a fight, and I will feel ashamed that I couldn't control myself. As soon as I had energy, I used it up. I tried to keep the home in order. I tried to keep food on the table, the kids clean and dressed and doing their activities. I tried to keep my husband happy. My partner was used to me doing things on a very high level. He was used to elaborate meals with a salad on the side. And if he didn't get that one day, he would criticize me. As the relationship went on, I eventually learned that in order to stay in this situation, I have to listen to my body. I can't do everything all the time. I have to get some rest. I decided 2 days a week that I would stay awake in the evenings. The other days, I have to go to sleep. I still did things on very high level, but I didn't put in that little extra. I tried to cut myself some slack, but I felt that my body betrayed me. I had the will, but I didn't have the physical capacity. As I returned to work, I got really good advice from a fellow researcher. He said that he had this principle when he went to work that he would never do 100% of his capacity. Because if there really was a crisis at work, then he would up his performance, and his boss would say, wow, he's really putting in an effort. But he was only doing what he could normally have done if he hadn't been so lazy. He never overstretched, and he had some extra energy if things needed his attention. Eventually, it was my body that broke my relationship. If I hadn't been so exhausted, I think I would have continued to try. The second lesson is if you continue to push your body, the effects will be long lasting. In 2023, my body started to break down. I started to gain enormous amounts of weight. If you see me now, this is double the weight that I used to be before 2023. After the separation and after moving to another apartment in the beginning of 2024, the effects of my body's burnout began to show itself at work. I would sit in front of the computer after having seen all my patients and I would stare at the screen, not being able to do anything more, not being able to complete the calls on my list. I would have to call my boss the next day and tell her that I had a headache. I started to have these enormous migraines that would last for 2, 3 days, even though I took medications. It was the first time that I felt that I just couldn't push any further. I would send my kids to school and then I would lay home in bed sleeping. Even though I've had mental fatigue symptoms for years, this is when it really increased. I wasn't able to tolerate sounds. I wasn't able to do things at home. I had to take help of my kids to vacuum clean the living room and the kitchen. Little things took enormous efforts. But living like this for so many years had really took a toll. Living with a narcissistic person is living in a high alert situation. You never know when you will have an argument. Will he demand that you do something? You're on constant call. The body is ruled by two different parts of the nervous system. There is the parasympathetic nervous system that should be activated when you're resting, when you're eating, and when you're not working. And then it's the sympathetic nervous system. It's also called the fight and flight. Now, a secret here is that the sympathetic nervous system is the gas pedal, but there is no brake in the body. So if you have a stress factor, then the gas pedal will always be on, and there will always be some activity in the sympathetic nervous system. It will never go into the parasympathetic nervous system. It will never have time to rest and digest. Just like many others, living with a constant emergency had given me symptoms of complex post traumatic stress. When something unexpected happened, I could feel a jolt in my body. When the stress hormones were released, I would get dry in my mouth and my heart would begin to palpitate. I felt a feeling of approaching catastrophe. Living in a high stress relationship commonly gives you muscle pains, tension around the jaw, in the neck, headaches, migraine. I had it all. Another common symptoms is a sensitive stomach. Weight gain because of the constant stress hormone circulating and because of the cortisol levels being high, the weight will be put typically on the stomach. Pain from different areas of the body. There is a connection between living with an abusive partner and developing fibromyalgia. There is also a connection between increased risk of autoimmune diseases. Some women may develop heart problems. Have you ever heard of Takotsubo's? It's also called the broken heart syndrome. It's when you get the equivalent of a heart attack even though you have no atherosclerosis. Living in an abusive relationship has been linked to this syndrome. So the lesson is that my body did pull the brake on the relationship, but it took a long time for it to start to recover. I'm still suffering from the effects of the brain fog, the mental fatigue. I have serious problems with plantar fasciitis. Now, it sounds like something silly, but it is really painful to have constant pain under the heels. I can't take the walks that I used to enjoy outside because of it. It is connected to my weight gain, probably. But I am lucky to not have it developed any serious complications. After the relationship ended, I did take several blood samples. The values were extremely off, and I was even sent to a hematologist to make further investigations. But after a few months, everything had reversed back to normal, and it showed that I was completely healthy. I think that my body was at a breaking point when I decided to leave. Now, I did have the ability to leave. Some women don't, perhaps because of economical reasons, cultural reasons, or because of the laws in the country that they live in. My intuition tells me that I would have developed some sort of more serious illness had I chosen to stay longer. What effects have your narcissistic relationship had on your body? Comment below. Over to the third lesson. There is another way of living that is tapped into the body. Being in such a high stress environment for so long time, I have become allergic to it. If I'm close to persons who are trying to manipulate me or putting undue pressure on me, my response used to be that I would ignore those feelings and try to push on and do my best. I would fawn. I would try to make everything good. My response now is almost allergic. I will back off and I will remove myself from that situation. I am no longer able or willing to cope with it. My body has started to relax. I am tapping into the parasympathetic nervous system. I used to push through the days, whipping myself with shame. Now I am actually enjoying my days, most of them, and I'm starting to feel joy. I'm starting to laugh without tension again. Now it took me time to get there. As I told you, the body has this gas pedal of the sympathetic nervous system. But there are some shortcuts into tapping into that parasympathetic system. The parasympathetic nervous system is a system of good feelings. It is when you're comfortable, your body starts to rebuild, your hair starts to regrow, and you slowly regain your health. Pay attention to if you are moving around during the day and tensing your muscles, pulling your shoulders up, pressing on your jaws. Consciously make an effort to relax those muscles. As your body taps into the parasympathetic nervous system, the breathing will become calmer. If you're breathing 8 or under 8 breaths a minute, the body shifts to the parasympathetic nervous system. Now, this cannot be forced. It has to be an effect of your body being relaxed. So you have to listen to when your brain tells you to take a breath. If you count those breaths under a minute, you will know if you're into the sympathetic or the parasympathetic nervous system. Make an effort to tap into the parasympathetic nervous system several times a day. It can help to take a bath, get a massage yourself, or use some equipment that you can buy from the store. Meditate, eat without stimuli. Dancing has been shown to help when you're recovering from trauma. The psychiatrist Basil van der Kolk who has written The Body Keeps the Score, writes about this in his book. One thing that might keep us from relaxing are our thoughts, the worries that we think about. Write those worries. What are you thinking about? What is the situation that you're worrying about? What is the worst outcome that you're worrying about? But remember, there is always the best outcome, so write that down as well. And when you have written it down, then you think about what in this situation are you grateful for. So, for example, this month I'm worried about paying the bills. Worst case scenario. Worst case scenario is that I will have trouble paying for both the rents that I need to pay this month. Now, the best case scenario is that I will pay the rents, buy the food, and have some extra money over. Of course, I will also sit down and do a budget, but you never know what kind of unexpected expenses might come in. Then I will write a list about the gratitudes that I feel in this situation. I do have some spare money on the bank. I do have the ability to ask someone if I would really need it. I do have food in my cabinets. I am healthy. I am able to start to apply for work soon. And then I will just write all the gratitudes that I feel, and that will remove some of the worry. You will notice that the worry often happens in a loop. It's the same thoughts that just keep running around in your head, never coming to an end. So, sitting down and writing them and dealing with it step by step will help you to release those worries, and you will start to tap into more of the body's wisdom. So, what I would say to my 29-year-old self: you don't need to be ashamed. You are doing so much. Be proud of what you're doing. And in fact, you should decrease that effort. If you choose to stay, or if you choose to leave, you will be your own most important resource. It will be your joy and your intuition that matters the most, even to your kids. What will matter most to them is you being present and joyful, and not if everything is in perfect order. Your narcissistic partner will never be happy. He will always find fault, no matter how much you do. So do less. He doesn't know where your breaking point is, or if he does, he will even try to push you over it without any empathy. So don't adjust your behavior according to him. If this video was helpful to you, I will put my playlist here at the end. I'm really curious to know what kind of topics would you like me to talk about? Make a comment below. I'm Emma, holding up a light over the bridge. Remember, there is always a way out. There is always a way forward. Please be safe, take care, and have a great day.